something in here and do like a part-time, like a 20-hour-a-week recreation coordinator or something, something that the community has been clamoring for. So if we're taking some extra money, could we provide it towards something that's a priority, a high resident priority? Obviously, a detective car replacement is not something that the residents find, I mean, it's necessary, but it's not like, oh, this is, as a resident, I'm not sitting there thinking, well, it's great, now we got a new detective car. But if we could do something in there that we've had to forego, and use some, small amount of that additional money, I don't know how you guys feel about that, but it would be nice to kind of give a direct benefit back to the residents as opposed to spending it on all these things that we, are necessary evils, so to speak.
I agree with that notion.
Right.
We should at least look at,
Yeah.
if it's possible, carve out some amount of money out of the budget that currently is going towards public safety, but could potentially be used for a direct resident benefit. I mean, there are other things that are listed in there that, like the chairs and
Right.
the community room, like those things are direct benefits as well.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right, right, I'm saying things that, there's something that's less necessary that we might be, and again, we would have to decide it as a group, but just throwing that out there.
It's worth considering.
Yeah. I didn't have any other comments.
Sorry. So the draft capital improvement plan.
Yep, so this capital improvement plan was recommended for approval by the planning commission at their last meeting. So this kind of to get your guys' initial feedback, see if you have any questions that need answering or comments. But typically, as you guys know, the CIP is approved at the same time as the budget, so the hope would be to approve this in May. So just get your guys' initial feedback and go from there.
We reviewed it as part of the planning commission, and, we asked some good questions around current year versus future year. There are obviously some things in the proposed budget that are accounted for in the capital improvement plan. Right now, our listed as 2025 expenditures in the capital improvement plan.
One second. Autumn, the cameras have to go in that blue square over there.
I need to be able to monitor that it's
Well,
recording.
They go right there. We already passed the,
You're asking me to relinquish my personal property?
tell you to take it over there. You can move your chair over there also.
I can sit over there?
Yeah, there's a chair right there.
Okay.
But it also needs to stay put right there. Okay?
Okay. As long as I can get you all on camera, that's great.
As long as you be in that square.
Yeah, I had three.
Oh, Jason.
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry.
Just the planning commission review, we asked some questions. There were some updates around prioritization that we had asked for in the initial review that are represented in this version, this draft. I had a couple of notes on facility condition and needs assessment. I'm not clear on what that estimate is based on.
What the estimate's based on? This is based on experience. This is something I've done in different communities. With this, as we all know, our buildings are old. Having a third party opinion come in and actually give you a true CIP for your buildings, I think would be beneficial. That's why I wanted this in there. After I know it's a wish list item, may never get funded, but typically with these, I've seen them much more expensive. If I scaled this down just based off our square footage for this police department and DPW, realistically, could probably get it for less, but this is a very conservative estimate just based off experience.
So it's not based like on an estimate that we
No,
received
I've
from
not,
any.
I've not solicited formal quotes,
Okay.
yeah.
So the other comment I had about it is like, something like this could be something that might be a good idea to put out to bid, right?
Oh, this would be something 100%.
It would go to bid, alright, so other planning companies other than Giffords Webster would be able to
Yeah,
bid to potentially do this work for us. And I was just thinking it might be a good opportunity to test drive some other planning companies to see how their performance is compared to Giffords Webster. So as part of my thinking about when we're evaluating contracts, to have some tangible evidence of the performance that we're getting from the current providers is good or it's not, and then we can make informed decisions about how we do with those contracts going forward. It's not any sort of a dig on Giffords Webster at all, it's really just a check and balance type thing in my head. The backhoe, right, that might be something that if we have to, it might be an easy thing to cut. It's so I know it's aspirational. Is that a thing that maybe we push out in the capital improvement plan, maybe a year?
It's tough. That's one of those pieces of equipment they use
All the
weekly
time.
and not every other day.
They don't
So
have one.
They do use it every other day.
Yeah, they use it for sure weekly. It's on its last leg for sure. In here, I had it estimated out for a brand new one. And actually, working with Lathrup Services, we could probably go get a new one for 75, 80 grand, so save some money. Just the tricky part with that is gonna be working with you, is typically you'll have to do short auctions. So you gotta find the auction window, have you guys authorize up to amount, and let's try to.
Before going to the auction, right, so you have the money
So,
available.
but yeah, in here, this is planning for a relatively new one. Like I said, that they would, I think they would love a used one that's less than 5 years old and doesn't have so many hours on it, or doesn't have a piece of metal just riveted over the engine.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's on its last leg.
Good. The lead and copper abatement, I thought we'd like met our obligations, but the state, relative to that, is that not true?
We still have more to do. As of right now, we're in good standing with the state. We are aware of at least 2 right now that still need to be replaced, but there are still some that have not been officially verified, so this kind of just holding them out in there. But as of right now, we're in good standing with the state.
The water main, so we have, projects between 2025 and 2031 to do each year some work on the water mains. Do we have an idea about like what percentage of the water mains will have been touched if we do all those projects between now and 2031?
Still not great.
It's still like,
Yeah, I mean, it shows the percentage on in here of ones that, I was looking at, yeah, so 75% of our, yeah, as of right now, 75% of our water mains are considered beyond their life. Cause it's 50-year life and 75% of them are over 50 years old.
yeah, so my question is if we do every one of these projects that is in the capital improvement plan between now and 2031, does that 75% go to 25%?
No.
Or 60%?
No.
Or,
Cause usually when we do these projects, we spend a couple $100,000, we're doing what, 300,000, 400,000, three or 4,000 linear feet. So like, right, if we're lucky, cause I mean, like the Southfield Road, we're getting $2 million and that's 5,000.
Just about 6,000
Yeah, linear
$2 million.
feet.
Yeah.
So it's a, yeah, I mean, I think back when we were doing the project, I think this is, or when we were talking about it 5 or 6 years ago, I think you and I were talking and it was something like 20 some odd million dollars at that point.
North of 25 million.
Yeah, to do all, all that we needed to do, and that was 6, 7 years ago. So, yeah, it's gonna drop it down like a few percent maybe,
okay.
yeah.
And then, the ballistic plate carrier upgrade, I just wanted to call it out, it's only $16,000, it's not a big line item, it's not a really expensive thing, but I think it's an important thing for us to focus on doing, A, because it's pretty affordable, and B, because it provides additional safety to our officers that they don't currently have, so I absolutely support that line item for the police.
You had a few questions or comments. One, I think the siren activated gate should be on there, cause we're talking $65,000 for it, and, we don't know if we're gonna do it or not. It meets the criteria for being included in the capital improvement plan. Just one comment, I mean, we've got, crack sealing for the roads ranked at number 7. I know when we approved that project, the recommendation called for crack sealing to happen around 5 years after the start of the project, so I mean, hopefully we can get that in next year's budget, or maybe not this year, but not the one we're working on, but maybe the following one.
26, 27 budget.
Yeah, I mean, cause it's protecting our investment. I mean, if we don't do the crack sealing, the roads we're not gonna get the full 20 years out, and, we don't have the money for the roads that we didn't do, let alone the ones that we have. On page 45, I was a little confused, maybe this was a cut and paste, but it says that, and maybe I just don't remember this, but it shows, R2507, so the second project down on page 45, it shows that we got what did it say, a grant. I said, the city in partnership with Southfield was successful in obtaining a federal grant.
Is that 45?
Yeah, page 45. Second one down, 11-mile resurface Santa Barbara to Evergreen.
Question.
Yeah.
As of right now, yes, this is similar to eastbound 11 Mile, where it's one of those TAP grants where you apply for it and you don't do the project for 5-6 years. That's what that's looking like.
Oh, so we did get that tap grant?
As of right now, I gotta double check with Ringler, but yeah, this was a partnership with Southfield that would submit an application.
Okay, and what was the grant amount, do you know?
I gotta check.
Oh, and then just one question, on page 47, sanitary and storm sewer, at the third paragraph, is the recommended, repairs, is that in this year's budget, or is it in the budget that we're currently working on for next fiscal year? Those recommended repairs are currently scheduled for 2025.
A little bit of both. So we're doing some manhole installation right now, and then the big cure face pipe for having to put
Next year.
a little bit of both.
Yep,
But
thanks.
yeah, as you guys remember, we did the CCTV stuff this
Sure.
year.
Go ahead.
So going to fiscal year 2025-26 fee book.
Yeah, so every year we also review the city's fee book to see if any changes need to be made, including your guys' packets. The draft we're looking at has been reviewed, all staff and all the notes are included. A lot of it's pretty small. The biggest ones come with plumbing and mechanical changes. This is based off reviewing other communities and then big input from McKenna and their experience, and then the feedback we've received from contractors. Our current fee book is very convoluted, very confusing, so what we're trying to do is to simplify it, based off McKenna's experience. They've seen this exact kind of layout in their other communities, and it works. It covers all the fees we absolutely need. The fee charges stay relatively the same when you're submitting a permit, but just simplifies everything. Other than that, everything is just changed because of either legal restrictions or just small modifications.
Do we anticipate any change in revenue due to the fees, positive or negative? In terms of the way that the way that the structure is changing?
Currently very minor. I think if anything, the community room might go up a couple grand as we're looking to increase that just $5 for revenue. So that ends up being like 4%, but.
Well, I was thinking more in terms of like the mechanical and
No,
electrical.
we think these will stay roughly the same. Yeah, and naturally, just like all trades permits, it just depends on how many permits are pulled. So, and luckily, these are tied to expenses, so if we don't have as many permits pulled, our expenses for inspections go drastically down too, so it's a nice little
They
balancing of
offset,
that.
yeah. I like the idea of simplifying. I'm sure the contractors will appreciate. They'd almost rather pay a little bit more in contracting and permit fees if it's easier for them to, it takes less time for them to actually fill out the applications. So I didn't have any questions about anything there. It totally made sense to me what the adjustments were.
I just had one question on page 59. You 86, the permit application fee, residential, is that been put
It's-
somewhere else, or?
If you look directly at the line below, it's just combined. So once again, we're simplifying things and having it just look
Ah,
the
got
exact
it.
same, so we don't get things confused with BSNA and on application. That way, we don't have to have multiple applications, we can simplify those and.
For the pet licensing, I thought we weren't doing it.
It's set by the county.
Oh, okay, so we are doing it, but it's just.
Yeah, so if people have pet licenses, they can come in, pay the fee, and we set up with the county. Yeah.
Anything else? Ordinance, the sign ordinance?
Yeah, so, I guess this just more of an open discussion. Mayor Pro Tem brought it up last study session about some of the open signs that have been popping up around the community, and most notably, I think his concern was the brightness of the signs as well as the number. Some businesses have, more than one. Oh, and I don't
Yeah,
know.
can we step back for 1 second?
Yeah.
Yeah, so after we talked about it at the last study session, I went back and reread the ordinance, and I had missed it's like one line in there in the ordinance that says regarding these kinds of signs, outline tubing signs, basically neon signs, that you can have a maximum of 1 and it can be a maximum of 2 square feet. So, learning that,
Kind of covered.
right, so I went out, on two separate nights at midnight and just wanted to get a sense of how compliance looked with that particular ordinance. And basically what I saw is that, at least with respect to these kind of illuminated signs, there's not a lot of adherence to ordinance. So, I think there were 3 signs, you know, that had flashing signs, which is specifically called out in the ordinance as being forbidden. There were multiple businesses that had multiple tubing signs. There was one that had 4. There was, I think, at least 2, maybe 3 that had 2 of them. And then there were also a lot of, you know, I didn't have a ruler out with me, but there was a lot of violations in terms of the 2 square footage. In fact, there's one that I would guess is somewhere around 8 or 9 square feet. I mean, it's like that. There were several that were clearly, you know, large, and then there were also several businesses that had lots of illuminated signs, but they wouldn't have fallen into the definition, the pure definition of an outline tubing sign. But they were still like emitting signs for things like cigars and cigarettes and chicken and, you know, that kind of thing. So a lottery, all that kind of stuff. So, so that's what we got into a
Yeah,
discussion.
so basically, based on what Bruce has just described, that currently we only define and limit outline tubing signs, and so that's defined as energized, either neon or other gas particle that becomes energized and then illuminates. Bruce was creatively trying to
Trying to scratch it.
LED lights into gas tubing, which is, it's simply, you can't do that, it's too much of a stretch. So, at a very minimum, I think the definitions need to be amended to include current technology. People are using LEDs because they're cheaper, they're brighter, you can do more things with them than you can with neon tubing. So step 1, I think, is to update our definitions to include that current technology. Second thing that I brought up with Bruce was that, you know, my thoughts, my preference would be to, instead of singling out neon signs, LED signs, and then limiting each type, just have a definition for illuminated window signs, put a size limitation and a total number that somebody, so, you know, currently window signage, non-illuminated window signage, my thoughts are kind of differentiate between illuminated and non-illuminated, or electrified, non-electrified. But right now, we allow for up to 10% of the window frontage to be covered with window signs, and Bruce said 1 neon sign. So where there are opportunities to enforce our current code, and I think we could probably bring into compliance a lot of the issues that he observed with just application of our current ordinance. And there's ways to do that. Obviously, Steve doesn't work at midnight. The police department does, and they can write tickets for ordinance violations, so I think it's just a conversation with Lieutenant Zhang about how we can kind of work together to accomplish that. So.
Can interrupt you, but can the officers, I mean, I don't think we necessarily wanna just go out and write tickets. I mean, can they give them a warning and make them, you know, kind of what Steve can do is give them a warning, say, look, you've got 8 square feet of open sign, you know, you need to.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the conversation that we would have, is that have the officers kind of go out and do some of the documentation, have them get some body camera footage of the lights being on, I mean, because that's another component too that we don't currently address, is when these signs need to be turned off.
Oh, that was the other thing I mentioned in the email
Yeah,
to you, is all but 2, so this is at midnight, all, and both nights, all but 2 signs were still illuminated. You know, they were like-
Not necessarily, right?
Yeah,
'Cause
so,
this is-
you know, those create disturbances especially at night, when, you know, things kind of quiet down, traffic slows down, and now you've got these bright lights that are, you know, going off into the residential neighborhood. So, those are areas that I think we can certainly tighten up the ordinance. Like I said, we also don't have a good definition or regulation for general illumination of our signs. It refers back to the zoning ordinance, which the zoning ordinance says all light has to be captured on the property. Now that kind of is counterintuitive to what a sign is. A sign intended to draw people's attention to the property that aren't on the property, so you kind of have an inherent conflict there. If your signs aren't supposed to be visible beyond the property line, why do you have signs to begin with? So I think we need to have a better approach to regulating the brightness of the signs, because again, as the technology has gotten better, signs have gotten brighter. I mean, you can tell when you're going on a freeway in a community that doesn't regulate their billboards, just how much brighter those billboards are than those that do regulate them. So that's an area of opportunity, I think, that could benefit from some updated language. And then the other thing Jim was not here tonight, but I know he had, previously had expressed some concerns, or an interest in kind of going back to, previously our sign ordinance used to regulate the permissible colors of the sign. And he had indicated an interest, or at least a desire to explore, perhaps some language that would bring back some limitations on what we would allow and not allow. So, that's kind of a summary of what the issues, my understanding of the issues that you guys wanted to take a look at. But yeah, I basically just have it on here tonight so we can get more feedback from, something from everybody, but, from others, and see if they have areas that, are of interest to them, or just thoughts on the areas that versus what.
I think that's good to tighten up the, sign ordinance, but I think that it's also good to be neighborly. And I think that, it is alerting all the businesses that this is gonna be going in the back end, either hand delivering it or mailing it, emailing, what the updates are gonna be. Give a certain amount of time for compliance. And then, also, to have all the things that you want correct prior to having somebody go out and give a warning, or have the police, or just say, then we're going out for a warning. I think there's some steps to it before you go hard on our business.
Be proactive.
I think that's a great point. I think just basically a signage campaign to the, these are the current ordinances, this is what we observe, we're not calling out any particular business, but signs are being left on at night, there's more than what's allowed. It's just kind of a notice that we are gonna start applying our current ordinances and maybe exploring amending what we currently have to obtain better compliance overall. But start with that be the first step. This is kind of a campaign to see if we can, how much we can improve and how much tighter we can bring current businesses to our current standards without having to amend, without having to write citations and go that route.
Yeah, the one, I guess, the one problem, I agree with all that, but the one issue that I was thinking though is if we do change the ordinance though, I mean, a lot of these businesses, aren't they gonna be legally non-conforming? I mean, like, you've got one business I can think of has, I think it was like 6 or 7 illuminated signs. And so, if we put this in place, unless they make some change to their business.
Yeah, I mean, there are, I think there are ways that we could address that with sunset provisions. Again, this is in the general ordinance, so, you can change those ordinances and you can have them apply the new ordinance. It's not the same grandfather language we have under the zoning ordinance. A good example is, let's say you change the speed limit on Southfield Road, people can't say, well, you used to drive, 45, that's what your ordinance used to say. So, yeah, but there are ways to address that, but yeah, some of those are probably overall, whether they're illuminated or not under the current definitions, they probably exceed the coverage that they're allowed to, so they wouldn't be permissible. They wouldn't be legally non-conforming, even if they could make that argument.
All that sounds great, I totally support it. As far as illuminated signs, we have a prohibition, animated signs, we have a prohibition on animated signs, but if I'm thinking about LED lights, like LED lights can change color, which means that they can appear to be animated, would they still be considered animated?
We can't have animated, we can't have flashing,
Motion.
rolling, there can't be any motion in your signs, it's gotta be a constant light, so.
We're good.
So we're good,
Okay.
I mean.
Even with LEDs.
Even with LEDs, you're not supposed to have anything that changes color, changes message, or scrolls, rotates. It's a safety thing, right? If you've got flashing stuff, it's gonna divert attention to that, and it's already a busy enough roadway, we don't need more hazards.
Well, as long as we're talking about signs too, and you bring up flashing, moving, it's interesting because in the capital improvement plan, there's a project in there for a city hall monument sign with, what's that? Oh, you
Oh,
did?
I caught it.
Okay, well then you might wanna make a note.
That's
No, I
funding.
think that's from,
It's been brought up, that's been on
Many
for
times before,
years,
right.
and Susie, when she was in that role, was really pushing for that, and I was
Right.
very opposed to it. Said, no, we don't allow it for everybody else, why would you
Right.
have one at City Hall? So,
Right.
Yeah,
An updated monument sign might be a great idea, but one that scrolls messages, obviously,
Right.
they can't do.
Right, so we might wanna think about taking that off before we go to final approval for the.
Well, it's been there for a couple of years. You
Right,
guys have
right,
approved it
right.
as it-
But I mean, if we're trying to make it
Yeah.
accurate, I mean,
Well, unless there's a need to update a monument sign that's outside of City Hall, so it's.
Would probably update
Right.
the description.
yeah.
Anything else?
Also, do you have the feedback that you need to draft something, or do we need to talk about numbers and square footage and?
No, I think, like I said, I think I could, in the past, we've worked with the planner, even though it's not part of the zoning ordinance, we've worked with the planners on this, and so it's something that I think we can, like I said, I was hoping that Jalen would be here, so, because he did have some things that were outside of what we're talking about, so some more guidance from that, but yeah, if there's something that, I mean, this is a good starting point, but if there's something specific you want me to incorporate, you know.
I mean, I agree with what Jalen says, but unfortunately, in that situation, it's kind of the horse is out of the barn. I mean, it's
It's hard
all
to-
over the place. It's a long-term, really long-term solution.
And unless you're going to couple new requirements with, an, you know, attractive DDA sign grant program or something that are gonna get people to kind of update and come in, you're right, it's gonna be a long.
Yeah, really long.
But I'd like, at least like to hear about his.
Yeah, no,
his
he's
idea
talked to me about it. I agree with him.
Yeah, it might be an aspirational thing.
Right.
But it might still be worth doing.
Great, anything else? Hearing none, we'll open it up to public comments. I don't see the podium whatsoever, sorry.
New process.
New process, forgot it.
So you can, say at your seat, state your name, you have 3 minutes, and you all have the timer ready?
Yep.
Okay, go ahead. Right, go ahead.
Okay, Rick Wiz, just a couple points, a couple comments on a number of things. One, about the backhoe, I know there are auction sites for surplus backhoes from military, from other outfits, from, you know, that, are significantly less than a brand new backhoe. I don't know, as a city this size, we need a brand new backhoe. Just a thought. New chairs for the community room, if we're looking for budget cuts or ways to save money, yeah, they might not be the most comfortable things in the world, but I don't think people come to the community room to be in extreme comfort while they're sitting at dinner or whatever. So, another thought. Is there a possibility of sharing personnel for various and sundry duties? Not to pick on anybody, but do we need a full-time compliance officer? Could we have a compliance officer that's there for 2 days, or we're sharing an officer with Berkeley or Clausen or, you know, whatever, but not a full-time person? Have we thought about sponsored vehicles? I think there's a compliance officer who has a truck. I don't know why he's got a truck. Could we think about approaching some car dealer to say, okay, we'll put a nice unobtrusive sign or advertisement on this vehicle. It says Lathrup Village, but somewhere it says donated by, sponsored by, whatever. Thinking outside the box a little bit. Okay, the thing about crack sealing on the streets, I think that's way overdue, and I think a good example is the parking lot of City Hall. I mean, you look at the number of cracks in this parking lot, and I wonder why was the DDA paving alleys before it was paving City Hall? I mean, City Hall is supposed to be the jewel of the city. This is where people come, you know, people are coming, they should be impressed by the conditions of it. You pull in, and yeah, the alley across the street looks better than the parking lot. Let's see. I was glad that Mr. Hammond offered or said something about trying another planning department or company. I thought it was discussed some time ago when it was time to renew contracts or review contracts, that you guys were gonna be looking at performance of everybody we've got contracts with, whether it's planning, whether it's painting, whether it's, you know, whoever. Are they, you know, doing what they're supposed to be doing? Are they the best value for the money? Okay. Bruce, you said something about these signs that you're noticing that are out of compliance.
Thank you for your, feedback, continuing to go into the, meeting if you would like to. Is there anyone else that would like to be heard?
Yes, Grace Green. I have a question, or somebody, maybe they can help me. On the culverts and ditches, people are trying to maintain them. But you know the little circle where the water runs through? They're digging it way beyond that, which is going to let water just sit there. So at one time, they had said they would get someone to really show people how to do it. And if you show someone how to do it, people will do it right. Now they've got holes this deep below the circle, and so that's gonna just sit there. And as the summer months come, you're gonna get a lot of mosquitoes and whatever else. Now, you can clean it out, it has to go like this. But it can't have a big deep hole beyond the hole, because the water's not gonna go anywhere but under their,
drain.
driveway approach, and then it's gonna fall in, because the erosion is gonna get to it. I'm done, that's it.
Thank you.
So, that you can help somebody, you can help it make it a better place, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to be heard? No one?
Can I finish one comment?
Go ahead.
Okay. Bruce, you were saying these signs that are obviously out of compliance. Why have they not been cited? You know, is the officer not performing the way he's supposed to be? That's it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mayor and council comments. I have none.
So I'll answer your question, Rick. I mean, part of the problem is that they're at night and the code enforcer doesn't work at night, so, you know, we rely on things like C-Click Fix and, you know, I know I pointed some of these out to Mike. So, yeah, I mean, the compliance, I mean, we need to hold them into compliance, and that's why I made the list that I forwarded to them. You know, one of the things that I had said to Scott in our email exchange was that we either need to change the ordinance or hold, you know, a resident or businesses to it. I mean, if we have an ordinance, it should be in effect. I mean, and then to your other comment on full-time code enforcer, I can tell you that the number one issue when the first time I went door to door, 2017, when I first ran, the number one issue from residents was either by name or by example were code enforcement issues. And so that's one of the reasons why we went from a part-time code enforcer where we were paying, back then, this is in 2017, we were paying $40,000 a year for 10 hours of code enforcement, and probably getting 2 or 3. And so we went to a full-time code enforcer. It did not cost us all that much more money, and then since that time, we also negotiated with the DDA, who was picking up 45% of the cost of code enforcement. But I don't know, I can't speak for you guys, but I know most of the emails that I get from residents are about code enforcement types of issues. So I think people would be severely disappointed if we went back to a part-time and you know, a 2-day-a-week code enforcer, because I think that's what people are really spending the most time complaining about. So, Grace, I didn't really quite understand your.
Okay, you know how this-
Are you, wait, hang on. So are you talking about the culvert or are you talking about the ditch?
The culvert.
Okay, and then.
Okay, well, the ditch, the grass part.
Okay,
They're digging way below where the
Got it.
circle is.
Got it.
So
Okay.
you're not gonna remove water that way.
yeah,
So maybe we need to get proper instructions as how to keep it, so it's still like this, and the water still flows, but not way beneath where it is a holding pond.
got it.
Might be a great opportunity for a video.
Yeah, I thought we did one. Didn't we do one like back around? We were supposed to with one of the other code enforcers?
You said we're gonna do one.
Yeah.
I think we were supposed to have someone, if a street was interested, show what it looks like somewhere, and then everybody could go back and do their own or rent the tools and everything, and that never happened.
Well, we were supposed to have a video. I don't know. that might be something that Steve could work on, but if there is something that's done out of compliance, then that would be a code enforcement issue. I had a couple follow-up questions for you, Mike. Well, actually, one's just a suggestion, I think we kind of brought this up last year. Can we get, in our packets, can we get the fund balances each month? So, you know, one of those sheets, just add, you know, the road fund, local road fund, major road fund. Cause it would be nice to not have to search out that every time we want it. Yeah, and then did you ever, I had asked at the last study session about, officers writing tickets, and the fact that it seems to, like, based on rough calculations, was averaging like less than one a shift. And I think you were gonna.
Yeah,
Back in
I had a conversation with chief and lieutenant, and unfortunately, this is how it works out sometimes. It's not like the officers are out there just sitting in the car not doing anything.
Right, I get that, but.
So, yeah, unfortunately, that's the way it works, this pass go around with tickets.
Okay. And then did you ever find out anything on, I brought up critter control? You were gonna contact our.
Yeah, I chatted with our rep when they were here, not our rep, our maintenance guy. He still needs to get me in hold with the sales folks, and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
Wait on that.
Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you, then we'll be adjourned.
I was wondering, Scott, maybe you can weigh in on this. Is there anything wrong with us getting a list of requests as part of our packet, or? I mean, I mean, not the detailed request, but just the general, you know, FOIA requests received FOIA requests for, you know, DPW projects in 2022, you know.
More general, I'm thinking it would probably the bulk of the FOIA requests we get for cases that
Comes in, sorts
So,
itself in the
like,
case.
Right.
Doesn't really generate any space.
we're already covering every day with,
Right.
Why are your hair so pretty? Thank you. Please. You don't remember me?
Yeah, I
I'm
just-
from
I
there.
just-
Oh gosh, I kept looking at you. Yeah, your hair's so pretty. It's a roll now. Yeah.
It just seems like some of that stuff that we want to know, right? Like it's sort of like, FOIA request from the DPW, somebody's FOIA for a reason.
Somebody have
We as council might want to.
Oh, wow. So do you have a cap? Or do you have a
Sure, I saw Denise
Because I have a really,
Right, maybe just an email or something.
guy that do the really,
Right.
we think we fabricated. I have a round, how much time is spending in which is, and so he had to fabricate. Fireplace. Yeah, and then he put a standard one on my other one, which is free. Okay, so you have it.
Are you rich or?
Yeah. Yeah, I saw, I know we have raccoons, but, a couple weeks ago, I saw a couple that were out on a hill. Backyard.
Are you talking about?
Yeah, I've never, I walked in these in Florida. They're okay.
So it's now that we have to.
Why is there so narrow?
Right.
It's all regular.
So, yeah. No, I
When it was Barton, you know?
They're in my car right now. They just came from the market. I'm like,
I
Yeah.
Just remember,
Yeah.
Supposedly.
Supposedly.